As I said, I've run out of forms, so what I'll do is I'll email you and get that details. So if I get your, so I've got your email address, and I'll send you an invoice that way as well. So what I'll do is I'll do the testing now. I might bring some things to attention for the rest of it. I'll do I need to shoes on.
It's like a proper doctor's waiting room, this, isn't it?
Get my rubber gloves out.
Hey, now we're talking.
Shoes and socks off.
Socks are okay.
Imagine my surprise when I smelled your aroma.
I'm going to see what microbes I have inside me. Could be fun.
What's your date of birth?
5/12/57.
Maybe feel like you're done.
I'm
Pass that
near
over to me, Mr. Box.
52 in a
I'll
bit.
do my best.
Okay, so this isn't going to hurt at all. All I'm going to do basically is you're going to hold each of these. So I need to keep your feet flat on the floor.
Feet flat on the floor.
If you wear your watch all the time, you can keep it on.
Okay.
Because it'll be having an effect on you.
Richard's looking at this, look, he's thinking about backing out.
Yeah. This is where everybody gets scared. Yeah, feet flat on the floor, please. You can rest your hand up on the floor. So what I'm going to do, the first test I'm going to run is what we call a comprehensive test. So that's going to look at all your organ systems, see any that are best stressed or balanced, and then it's going to look through.
You're on about just a couple of bits of metal.
Yeah, it's going to scan about 50,000 items through the body and pick out any that you're reacting to at this minute, and then I'll do further tests from there based on that. You shouldn't feel anything. If you're really dehydrated, you might feel pulsing, but other than that,
I probably am dehydrated, truthfully.
They blow up in a minute, they.
I've had somebody short circuit them before now.
Jesus.
I'm thinking I'm dehydrated because I'm always dehydrated. I'm never drinking it. Ever.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Are you just taking an email?
Blimey, have I got one of them?
I'm a big it's all drugs.
Green is good, so far.
So you will be the only female.
Green is good.
Okay, yes, I am.
If it's all green, I want my money back.
Actually, Martin, you should be dead by all accounts.
I also have high blood pressure. Well, no, I'm on tablets.
Are you on tablets for high blood pressure?
High blood pressure and cholesterol.
Well, Callie's going to show you how you can come right off those.
I know, I agree.
Actually, it's a quite good baseline. You show some yellow items which are in areas that are weakened at the moment. The number gives me an indication of how out of balance something is, and I'll go through that with you in the report that I send you afterwards.
All greens apart from 3. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Oh. Yeah. That's vital signs, those.
That actually is an enzyme deficiency of lactase, which is what helps you digest milk. So you don't digest milk properly, basically, which is fairly common. About 70% of adults don't have the enzyme to digest milk. It's not a problem unless you have a large amount. So a little bit in your tea or coffee is okay.
I don't like milk.
So tell us what this is doing. This is analysing, what, 50,000?
Yeah, this is a really quick scan, basically testing 40 to 50,000 different things, from parasites to nutritional issues.
And anybody can have this done, yeah?
Yeah. And then this basically picks out the main issues for the body right now.
Right.
And then I'll do further tests, which include nutritional tests, hormone tests, toxicity tests, things like that.
And at the end of this, what can you do? Can you kind of then suggest any sort of remedial action that people can...
Yeah, so based on the results, I'll come up with a treatment plan. A lot of the time I'll do it using nutrition. I try and do things as diet-based as possible to make things easy. It might include nutritional supplements if there's deficiencies there, homeopathic remedies, herbal remedies, flower essences. It really depends on the individual.
Right.
So you'll usually see, even though tests can show quite a few different items, there's usually just 1 or 2 actual main issues, and everything feeds into that.
Well, it might sound like a daft question, but why doesn't the GP do stuff like this?
Basically because the technology isn't recognise they don't understand how it works and therefore it doesn't work.
Right.
In Japan, doctors use it. They use it as a good homocysteine test
Right.
for cholesterol and heart disease. In terms of, it's an American equipment, it's approved by the FDA, and there's a lot of research that shows it has 97% correlation with blood results.
Right.
So it can actually prove it. If it's actually more sensitive than blood results, so that extra 3% for people where it showed there was an issue that later became an issue.
Right.
So it's a sensitive piece.
I've got yellow aqueducts. And my governing vessel's yellow.
Well, nothing wrong with your eyesight anyway.
See it from there.
I feel like you said now, I'm going to break out.
I've got geopathic stress is yellow on the aqueduct.
So that's probably where you're living.
Where I'm living.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Probably built over an old aqueduct system.
Bloody hell, it's telling you that as well. Jesus. You're living on a refuse tip.
You know if you are?
Where I live is a very old cottage, and what I do know is it's called Draper's Cottage because it's long and narrow. It used to be a sailmaker's and a curtain maker's cottage. It goes back about 150 years. Beyond that, I don't know, but it's literally the last row of houses in North Barnet before the motorway. So you've basically got where I live, then a mile's worth of fields, and then the M25.
Oh, I think I know where you live, on the way out of Barnet. That road.
Next to the big new golf course.
Oh, I think I know where you live, yeah.
If you,
I'm not trying to get around there and...
if you go off the M25 at the Barnet turn,
Yeah.
on your right hand side at the top there's
Yeah.
the new Severiano Ballesteros golf course.
Right.
We live on that road that's like backs onto that.
Right, okay.
So I don't know, I'd be surprised if there was an aqueduct there.
Yeah.
You never know with
Might
St
sunk.
Albans being fairly local.
Yeah.
It can also be where you work as well. It's just showing a sensitivity to it, so because it's showing as a weakness,
Where I
it
work,
is-
the office I work from at the moment is at home. I've got another office in High Wycombe, but
Cheers, healthy people.
See ya.
Right, I'm just going to run a few more tests.
do the emotional one because I'm having such a problem with my woman at the moment.
Okay. And that's my little pet test. So with the test plate here, I can actually test anything against you. So you can test individual foods and things as well. So I've imprinted all my flower essences. So 50,000 flower essences, which is what the emotional test looks at.
So, for example, from about July to September, I suffer from an allergy. Would you be able to help me with that?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Do you know if it's specifically pollen or tree related?
I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
July, if it starts in July, it's probably more likely in the late grasses or tree.
It's not normal grasses because when people are normally in trouble, I'm fine. I'm buzzing, but it's towards the end of the summer, and it doesn't matter whether it's raining or not raining. I'm still the same. Yes.
You might find it beneficial. Have you heard of quercetin?
Oh, what done?
Have you heard of quercetin?
No.
Quercetin is basically a compound in onions. But if you start taking it early in the season, so around about now,
Yeah.
it basically builds up the immune system and stops the immune response. To
Well, I eat quite a lot of onions.
Yeah, so quercetin is the certified compound. So
Right.
you can get that, and you can get combinations of it with other things, but just quercetin on its own is good.
I'm waiting for the sexually transmitted diseases to come up. I haven't seen them
Don't
yet.
do that. I tested somebody in public once on the big screen. She came up with chlamydia. It was.
Really?
I don't do that anymore. I only do
I just
nutritional
saw,
tests
I saw
now.
Candida there, and that reminded me that it sounded a little bit like chlamydia, so it made me think of it.
Yeah, sometimes there's interesting.
Hair loss, I don't need that one, I know that I'm losing it.
What's that?
Hair loss.
Yeah, but the reason you're losing it is because you're showing an imbalance of somatotropin, which is one of the hormones that controls things like muscle mass, hair growth, and things like that.
So you can do something about it. See that reversing. Yeah.
I'll be like, 15 different pills every day to take.
No, when I recommend supplements, I give as little as possible to people. So, especially because a lot of the time, if you're taking too much at once, you don't absorb it or you don't get the benefit. So it tends to be a process of things.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Not that I doubt. Well, I do doubt this system simply because it's new, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, that's
But, and I'm not asking you to do it, but if I was to do this again in 5 minutes' time, would I get the same results?
What you would find is, because what this does while it's testing you is it also treats you at the same time, so it starts to balance out those issues that you're showing just by the matter of passing those frequencies through you. So you wouldn't necessarily get exactly the same results, but what you would see is the patterns would be the same. So say for example, I mean I haven't looked at yours, so this isn't based on your test, but say for example the first test I run on somebody shows issues that indicate their liver's struggling. The next test might not show those exact same issues, but it will still show that the issue is the liver.
Right.
So, same main issue, different minor issue.
You just got a couple of things there that mean a lot to me. One, I love ice cream. So what does it say about ice cream?
It's just saying that you shouldn't eat it.
I shouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
And I love fresh bread, so yeast. But
Yeah.
when I eat fresh bread, I put on weight.
Yeah, that ties in with the candida issue. You're probably dehydrated as well. If you
I'm
have
definitely dehydrated. I'm always dehydrated. I mean, that's...
If you have issues with bread, you're dehydrated. Well, the two things go hand in hand, do
The
they?
reason that dairy and wheat are the most common intolerances is two things. One, most people eat them for every meal of every day, and your body will become sensitive to anything you eat a lot of, whether it's something we consider good or not. The other problem is wheat is the most challenging food there is for the digestive system. It needs a lot of water to be digested. You know, think about it, flour and water is wallpaper paste, and that's what it turns into in your stomach. If you've not got enough water in your digestive system, you basically end up with just
Glue.
Yeah, glue in your stomach, which is why a lot of people find bread makes them bloated and things like that. And this is issues with the intestines.
That's why eating dry cream crackers is not a good idea.
No, yeah. So the best thing to do is to have a mug of warm water half an hour before every meal, and that makes sure there's enough water for the digestive system, keeps you hydrated.
Can I just ask why is it going over a lot of those? Is it testing you for those? It's finding nothing?
Yeah, it's testing what each of these is. So this is a main category, and each of those has lots of items in. So testing you individually over each item to pick everything out. I'll go through the food one with you in a minute because that's quite a good example of things it will pick out.
You know, this is quite interesting because it's such a big step away from what you would normally do with the doctors. So it's almost...
Well, I don't go to my doctors.
Almost-
I don't think he knows much.
It's almost bunkum, isn't it? You think to yourself, I'm not saying for a minute it is, but you think to yourself, I've got 2 bits of metal in my arms, how the hell?
I mean, the technology has been around for about 100 years. It works on a combination of quantum physics, the Chinese meridian system, which is what it's scanning at the moment, and homeopathy, and also the basis that everything has its own electromagnetic frequency, which is what it's testing against your body. So it's basically a pattern recognition system, which is why sometimes you'll see people come up with diseases that they haven't necessarily got that disease, but they've either come into contact with something that has got that. So for example, a lot of teachers will show up a lot of childhood diseases. They haven't actually got that disease, they're in constant contact with it in their environment. And also, because it's a pattern recognition system, a lot of the time, viruses in particular, when they enter the body, they change.
No, I might do one day.
So this will pick out the closest thing to that.
Yeah,
So I always call it the flu virus, for example.
Right.
Or fatal familial insomnia is the one that I often work with.
I've got fungal signatures. Trichophysium.
Trichophysium, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm selling the business this afternoon. The thing is, I'm squeezing these like fuckery at the moment. I don't know why.
You don't need to.
No, I know. I keep relaxing.
You think you're on a speedboat?
Since that first page, I haven't had many greens.
No, these tests aren't designed to show green. So that's okay. This is literally looking for problems now. If you want to put them back, that's your testing done. Just as an example, as I said, I'll send everything through to you properly, along with recommendations and what it all means. So you'll get copies of all these tests, and then my breakdown of what it actually means.
Don't forget about this diet, because that could make a difference.
Yeah. Because the interesting thing, that's what I wanted to go through with you here, your food test, just quickly, because you're showing a lot of foods being a weakness for you at the moment. So the yellow is a weakness, the red is a stressor. As far as foods are concerned, the foods that cause weakness are more of a concern because your body can't do anything about them itself. Things that cause stress for the body can mount its own response to them, so as long as you don't overdo it, not too much of an issue. You are showing a lot of dairy. A couple of fish there, so your haddock in particular, so I don't know whether you're a fish eater.
Haddock's my favourite fish.
Okay. So again, it could be a case of you've eaten, your body's too used to it, depending on how frequently you would eat
Not
it.
frequently, but haddock and chips being from Scarborough, haddock and chips, yeah.
Nuts is the other big issue here. So quite a lot of the things that you're showing are actually high fatty foods, which indicates you might not be breaking your fats down a little bit as well, which would be why you're sensitive to it. Chocolate is the biggest issue.
What, you eat a lot of chocolate, mine, do you?
What? What about it?
As a weakness, as a problem for you.
It's quite interesting that everything you picked out there, I like intensely.
Yeah. You tend to find with things that you're...
Yeah, she's not a bringer of good news.
It's not a case of you needing to avoid all these things or needing to avoid them for life. It's about moderation. Some of them I might recommend you avoid for a while. So chocolate, for example, is showing us as quite unhealthy at the moment. That's probably because of the effect on your blood sugar rather than the sensitivity as such.
See, I hate cucumber. I despise cucumber. That's shown as
A stressor.
Yeah. Is that stressful though because he thinks it's stressful, or is it really stressful?
It's the effect it has on the body. So it could be if dehydrates it.
What, cucumber dehydrates the body?
Anything like that. If it has a stressful effect on the body.
Oh, right, okay, it has the effect of
cucumber
dehydration.
I don't like the taste, and I can taste it 2 weeks later if I have one piece of it. It just keeps repeating on me, and I don't.
No, more tuna and cucumber sandwiches, Martin? No, more tuna and cucumber sandwiches, Martin.
You tend to find with sensitivities that you either you crave those things, or you like them a lot, or you dislike them instinctively, and other things are just a case of you eat them too much, or you don't eat them at all, so your body doesn't know what to do with them. But as I said, I'll send you all this properly and my recommendations and things.
So summarising, stop eating the things you like, start eating the things you don't like. Yeah. And have a rotten life. Well done, Martin. Next.
Like the Grim Reaper. I left my size at home today.
Because I'm going to stand there and take it.
No. I'm going to do mine in a more selective screening manner.
Wild earth combination. I've got to empower.
This is the emotional test, so this is one of the flower essences that came up, so that's for feeling powerful in your own right. Not worrying about how other people are perceiving you and your power in the situation. So know that you're top dog, basically.
Bighorn sheep, lion and peacock. What does that mean?
That's the essences that are in there.
This is that metaphor for you're a bit of a you're bigging up yourself too much.
Wild child.
So this is another essence, and that's for when you've not got enough gentleness and innocence, basically. So rebalancing that childlike state of seeing the world with wonder.
Right, I've got a question for you. Here's one for you. In the past year, I've become extremely intolerant.
Okay.
So much so that I used to be very mild-mannered. Now I can have swings from being absolutely fine to almost rage, which is very unusual for me. It's interesting if there's anything...
A large part of that will be, you're showing a couple of hormonal balances. So one is somatotropin, which you can see here. So that, as I said, muscle mass, skin, hair growth, stamina, libido, also mental cognition, your mood, your sleep, cardiac output. Pregnenolone here is also your hormone precursor.
These we need to take seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying to take the rest seriously, but joking apart, that is an issue with me at the moment. I definitely am going into some quite disturbing changes in, not
Mood swings.
well, aggression.
Really?
Getting really...
In anger management classes required.
So there's some issues there as well, because tryptophan's there as well, which is your precursor to serotonin, which is your relaxing neurotransmitter. Also some of the vitamin deficiencies you're showing that play a part there. But the other thing I'm saying is the high protein diet isn't particularly good for you at the minute.
No,
you're showing an enzyme deficiency of protease, which is what breaks down the protein. So you're probably not breaking down all the protein you're eating effectively enough anyway. So
What happens to that spare protein that's not?
depends on how well the rest of your body's functioning. You can either store it as fat, or you can notice you get a lot of digestive trouble, things like diarrhea, constipation, things like that. So yeah, also the more you're born with infinite, finite rather, enzymes. So the faster you use them up, the more issues you'll get. If you're only eating protein, you're only using your protease enzymes, and you'll use them up too quickly.
This is very short term. I'm only doing it for short bursts. I have in the past done an Atkins diet for 5 or 6 weeks, but that was 2 years ago. So I normally eat pretty balanced. I eat a lot of salad, quite a bit of vegetables, and lots of fruit normally.
So what's the main motive behind this diet then?
Lose weight.
Yeah, but you can do that without being so severe with yourself, could you?
With me, I find that the Atkins type of for 2 or 3 weeks just eat proteins, I can cope with that. What I have much more difficulty with is changing my eating habits. And the problem for me then is that I don't change my eating habits, so I then go back, so my weight goes like this. So you find that in 3 weeks' time, I'm half a stone lighter than this. In 5 months' time, I'll be half a stone heavier again.
But there's that not the inevitability of the whole thing anyway.
It is. But that's just that's the way I.
But then you need to change. They need to change your. Yeah. That's where it comes from.
Well, that's one reason why
I hope I'm not. I don't want to take over here. I'm just.
As long as it's carefully edited.
That's you done anyway, and I'll send you the proper results.
Okay.
Probably be tomorrow.
But as I say, the thing that of interest to me is this can't call it a mood swing, but it is certainly getting aggressive and arsey far too easily.
Yeah, I'll remember to be nice to you tomorrow.
Which isn't.
I get them when things go wrong, but it's not. But like when they go epically wrong, you know, when you sort of try to do something. Like for an example,
Yeah, you can go on it. Yeah.
I was trying to get something out of the grill. I've got this
Flatline.
So what are you doing here today then, Kay? What? Yeah, we've got a few people going through the ring here. What's the idea behind that? Just make people aware, or?
Yeah, so they're what I call health committees, so running a number of different checks, just to pinpoint any issues where the body's out of balance, anything like nutritional deficiencies in particular, where they might need supplementation or changes in their diet, just to make sure that there isn't any existing health issues, and B, that there's nothing there that we can tinker with.
Have you found on some situations where you've done tests and you actually found something that's quite serious, like?
You get two kinds of people. You get people like a lot of people here who come because they're curious and they just want to see how well their health is.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will come to a nutritional therapist or a homeopath because they're already ill, and either they've got a diagnosis or the doctor said there's nothing actually wrong. Which is where this kind of testing will show the areas that need tweaking. And I've had clients come before where I'll say to them, you know, you need to go to your doctor and get this check. I had one woman who was showing a lot of cancer markers, a lot of hormone issues, and I told her to go to the doctor, and she was diagnosed with pre-cancerous cervical cancer, which they wouldn't have picked up otherwise because she wouldn't have gone and had a smear or anything like that. So that was quite lovely. So I have to be quite careful with what I recommend, and I will recommend to somebody just get this checked by the doctor. Especially things like if issues like insulin show up or thyroid and things like that, certain patterns, I'll make sure that they do get a proper blood test to see whether this is a clinical issue or it's still something we can work with.
So Matt, you looking forward to this?
No. No, I'm not.
It's quite interesting looking at Martin's results. He's all the things that Callie said that he was overdosing on were the things he loved.
I'd be very surprised if anything positive comes out of this at all.
What's your email address, please? Because I'll email it.
DDGE.
What can you tell from that? Look at yourself from his email address.
It does hair loss. I said don't bother with that because I know I'm losing it.
Yeah, but can you do something about that? Because I mean, I am getting a little bit thin on top. There are things you can do for that. Yeah, I'm up for that. There's things you can do for that. Hair loss.
See you, boys.
Put your shoes on, right, left. Just, you can, yeah, how you are. Feet flat on the floor. Please.
Flat on the floor.
Oh, flat.
See ya.
Are we always just laughing at everyone who does it?
Yeah.
No.
Is that all it is?
No, it's not
I'll have
laughing.
plenty of time. Do you want me to give you a call when I leave?
We're looking now at.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
See ya.
There's a red one already. More red.
This is the problem. Stop looking at it and
Yeah.
panicking. Stress yourself.
Things are going to explode.
Yeah, that's your colon and your bladder.
Any other time she
So I don't know if you've had a stool upset or anything like that lately. It's basically showing it's quite stressed. So it could be a recent stomach upset, it could be a more long-term problem.
I had some viral thing in November.
Yeah, it was pretty. You collapsed, didn't you?
Killed me for about 3 weeks.
Okay. Do you have any kidney involvement then, do you know?
Don't think so.
Presumably you would have been quite dehydrated.
Look at all that.
Yeah, I'm going to sell the business now because I'm about to kill everything.
Pituitary gland.
Okay, I'm going to start off a sideline in will writing. Here's your test results. Do you want to?
That's a collaborative venture. That's a collaborative venture. Yeah, and for the ones with good health, you can send life insurance.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I can see it now.
You tell them about that. I sell life insurance. I split the commission.
Okay, sounds good.
Basically, you're going to tell me I'm about to die by email. Showing I'm quite happy.
No, I'd phone you.
This is not great. This is not. Yeah, this is not great news, Matt. But
So far, you're actually showing me. Seriously?
There were loads of yellow things.
Yeah. But that's okay. But on the specific issues,
You're not coming out of anything.
yeah, at the moment it's not finding anything major
Oh, right.
enough
It would have come up with something, would it?
Yeah.
How on earth does it work?
As I was saying before, it works on a combination of quantum physics, electromagnetic frequencies, and the Chinese meridian system. So it's basically
yeah. Are you any wiser? No.
What's the Chinese meridian system?
Basically, it's 12 different channels that throw through the body, connecting your different organs and energy points in the body.
Have a look at that. How spot on is that? Sleep disorders and ADD. That's me. I can't sleep.
Is that why you're
I get
playing?
about 4 hours a night.
Yeah, well, that's because you're playing those bloody games until 2 in the morning.
No, it's not.
No.
Yep, headaches. That's me.
Do me a favour.
What?
Slowly push my arm down. Knee up from the elbow. Is it going down? Is it straight?
Oh, I don't know.
Thyroid is showing as quite an issue.
Yeah, what's that mean?
So your thyroid's not functioning properly at the moment, so it's probably quite low. That could have been from the virus you had. It could be a more long-term issue. But basically your metabolism won't be working as effectively as it should.
A guy I know plays table tennis got a thyroid problem, and he slowed right down, and he put on quite a lot of weight.
Neurological imbalance, look at that.
That's your feel-good hormones, your endorphins.
I've not got enough.
Yeah.
I know that. Feeling a bit emo at the moment. I've been writing poetry. Cutting myself. Dark rooms.
Self-harming.
You're laughing, but it's a serious issue. Parasympathetic disturbance.
Yeah, it's basically showing your hormone system isn't...
It's a mess, isn't it, basically?
It's not too bad. It's not. There's definitely things we need to work on there to pick your health up. And that will be impacting on things like your sleep and things like that. The thyroid especially will impact on everything from your digestion to your sleep pattern.
You've got the technology to do that, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can reveal me.
Have you had any... yeah. Have you had any blood tests or anything lately?
No, I haven't, no.
It's discriminating against non-hittable contacts.
Is this just testing it further?
Yeah, this is what this is doing now is the pre-test looks at your body's organs and sees what's out of balance. And what it then does is picks out all these issues and it says, well, right, do all these issues explain all the issues that have shown up?
I wouldn't say congratulations. You may now release the probe.
No, keep hold of them for a second. Because what this is then showing is that it retests the body against that and says, okay, has this dealt with everything that's showing up? And this is showing actually no, the issues in there don't count
There's more.
for all these things. So I need to go back and
Third eye, your pituitary gland, isn't that?
No, your pituitary is your hormone controller.
Okay.
So it's in the
That's the
back
one
there.
nobody knows a
Pineal
lot
gland.
about, isn't it?
The pineal gland is the one you're thinking of, which controls sleep cycles and things like that.
Love all this shit. Know nothing about it, but love it.
Right, how do
Duration 3 weeks. What's that mean?
what you can do is you can use as a... I don't tend to do this because I work more on the physical level, but you can imprint everything that's shown up on the test as a homeopathic remedy, so that's indicating how long the dosage would be for.
Oh, right. Okay.
Isn't homeopathy water?
Some people would say so. Have you ever seen Masaru Emoto's work, the molecules of water? He's a Japanese scientist, and he did an experiment to show that water holds a memory. And he basically did all these different experiments with water and took pictures of the water crystals and the different patterns that they formed, depending on things like whether he talked to it nicely or nastily and things like that. And it's absolutely fascinating. And that's one research at the moment that looks into, well, if you've got this memory of water, that's possibly one reason why homeopathy works. Because a lot of the higher up remedies, if you keep hold of them, will just run out.
To test about food.
Yeah, do that one. So yeah, so homeopathy itself is quite... Nobody really knows exactly why it works, but you see it work enough,
Yeah.
and you know it does. I mean, it's the reason I'm still alive, and
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. Also,
Well, yeah.
if anybody's
You
got...
sort your own effort, really.
Yeah. If anybody's got kids, a classic example is a kid with a high temperature, give them a dose of homeopathic belladonna, within 5 to 10 minutes, the temperature's gone. You know,
Serious?
yeah. So kids are the best thing to show how homeopathy works because they have no preconceptions about it. It's not a placebo effect, and they usually have the vitality to throw things off very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, your nutritional
Potassium. Is it potassium?
I don't eat very well at the moment.
Right,
I
right.
haven't eaten very well for the last 10 years. I haven't had time.
Have you got time to die?
I'm making time to
Stop
die.
scaring.
I'm making time to die in the next 4 to 5 years.
But please, let's
If I don't
get
do
this reskinning done.
If I don't do something, I will probably just keel over. I don't feel good.
There
Full
is
end
a
can
lot of
save your
things
life.
that need to work on. A lot of it can be done dietary, so it doesn't have to be either expensive or too challenging.
Protein diet.
No, well, yes.
Just like
Yeah, I
pancakes
did.
and stuff,
Yeah, I did Atkins for a bit.
You lost quite a bit of weight, yeah?
I lost loads of weight, about 4 stone.
Jesus.
I look like a prisoner of war.
So what was all that stuff then? That was all like vitamins?
Yeah, so that was a nutritional and a hormone profile.
Right.
So it showed a few issues there. I only had a brief glance. The main things were dehydration and not absorbing things quickly.
So what does that mean?
Basically, we need to look at how efficient your gut is at the moment. Dehydration is a very simple one. It's a case of drinking more water.
Yeah.
I
Really.
think everybody needs to do that. There's nowhere near enough water to drink.
I drink about 6 glasses a day.
That's not enough. Just for your
No, during the day that is.
Yeah.
That's not in the evening as well. I mean,
It takes on 12 glasses at night.
no, but I might drink another 2 or 3 in the evening. But
yeah, but just for your basic bodily functions, this doesn't include digesting your
And there should be
food.
mineral
You need
water, presumably.
any water is better than no water, to be honest.
So how many should you have a day? Like?
Just for your basic body functions, you need 2 litres. If you're drinking things like coffee and alcohol, you need more like 3.
yeah, I reckon I drink that a day.
What, 6?
2 litres.
This is
Easy
the
to, yeah. Have coffee, tea and sugar. I drink at least 8-9 cups a
It's
day.
Does that
So
count?
quite
Yeah,
resistant
any
towards
water's better than no
gluten.
water.
If you mix water with coffee?
Yeah.
No,
Is
doesn't
that-
work.
No, but I mean, any water's better than no water,
What's
isn't it?
gluten?
In drinks like coffee and tea and things, it doesn't count.
No?
No, coffee is a dehydrator.
Right.
So it
What
doesn't.
about tea?
So actually, for 1 cup of coffee, depending on the strength of the coffee, you need between 4 to 32 times the same amount of water just to digest that cup of coffee.
What about tea?
You know, a cup of Starbucks coffee.
What about tea,
you
though?
need to be drinking water for the
Is
next
that the same?
It's not quite as dehydrating now.
So I'm not on coffee at the moment.
All this stuff. That's
It's
good.
not-
I don't drink
No, it's not
Don't
bad.
drink glasses of
really
water.
at all.
You need to start smacking some
You're
water
not actually
back.
showing too many issues, but a big issue you're showing up with is gluten and also aspartame, the sweetener.
That's Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
Ooh,
Diet
yeah.
Coke.
Yeah,
I drink crap loads of Diet Coke.
I know.
I don't drink any.
Actually, I don't drink
Well,
crap.
diet drinks in general,
I'd say I
which
drink.
all have aspartame.
Yeah, I'd say I drink like one
It's
a
bad
day.
for you. Mercury poisoning, man. I've read the stuff.
A lot of people show up arsenic as a toxicity, and that's from fizzy drinks and sweeteners.
Arsenic. They're putting arsenic in our drinks. Jesus.
It's bad shit, man. Diet.
Is that right? Is Chris selling them to them?
So is it better to just have Coke?
Yeah, you're better to have the
Full
full
fat.
fat version. The same way you better have to have butter, you better to have proper sugar.
Yeah, proper mayonnaise.
Real stuff.
What's wrong with butter?
No, butter's good.
What's the stuff?
Margarine shit.
Margarine is evil.
Spreads are terrible for you. Really bad. Yeah.
Even the olive oil ones.
They're slightly better, but yeah, they're a
Not as good as butter.
Yeah.
I'd check clover.
And
Clover
for
butter.
cooking, you should only use butter or coconut butter.
I use that extra virgin olive oil.
The problem with olive oil is if you have it on a high heat, it actually turns into a bad fat.
I don't.
So people think they're a good fat, but you fry with it or you cook an egg with it or something like that, you're turning
don't
it
do
into
that.
a bad fat.
So you should just
And
put a
what
bit of
that
butter
then
on
does
it.
is
Yeah, I'll just start using butter now.
the problem is cholesterol itself is a bit of a myth because 50% of your cholesterol you make in your body. So most of my cholesterol is a case of you making too much in the body.
Parasite signatures.
The problem with that's normal because of the test I run, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, all right. Virus signatures.
Yeah.
You haven't got a tapeworm. It's okay.
Yeah, part of where dehydration and your fats come in is your cell membrane is made of your good fats, your omega-3s. If you don't have those in your diet, your body makes cholesterol to fill in the cell membrane, which is the best alternative you can because it can't make your essential fats itself. So it fills in your cell membrane with cholesterol, which makes the cell hard and rigid, so the good stuff can't get in, the bad stuff can't get out. So you just end up with a toxic, stuck cell, really. So you start getting good fats in your diet, the cells are better able. Your omega-3s and your omega-6s, so fishy oils, nuts and seeds, linseeds in particular,
avocado.
The highest omega-3s there is.
I think avocado's
Avocado's
good,
good for your omega-9.
All right.
Okay, so you're done.
So what are you going to do?
I will go through everything properly when I get home.
There's a stretcher at the back.
And I'll send you everything. I'll send my recommendations as well.
Then what?
The diet info. What I'll do is when I send the recommendations, I'll include all the diet stuff in there anyway. I might make some supplement or remedy recommendations, in which case it's totally up to you whether you want those or not. If you do want them, I can get them for you, or you can source them from somewhere else yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll include that.
I'll
all
take
for
your
you.
advice.
So I'll put that on there for you.
Genuinely, because
Okay.
I feel like I'm going to die.
Okay. Well, it's not quite that bad, but there's definitely, especially on the metabolism, digestive side, that we can do some work.
Good.
Before we do the next